Just take a look around you right now. We are living in an era that's completely defined by intelligent machines. You've got modern AI robots, massive data centers, supercomputers, autonomous cars navigating our actual streets, and cloud networks that can just magically generate hyper-realistic images and text the second you ask them to. And sitting at the absolute center of this breathtaking technological leap, literally architecting the future of human computing, is a single, unmistakable company. But here's the thing. They didn't start out with endless billions of dollars or massive server farms. Their origins are actually incredibly humble. And their rise? Well, it is a masterclass in seeing the future long before anyone else even has a clue. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to trace one of the most incredible ascents in corporate history.
So it really begs the ultimate question, right? How exactly did three engineers with almost no money build the company that powers today's entire AI revolution? To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the modern marvels NVIDIA enables today, from advanced drug discovery to artificial intelligence, we've got to hit the rewind button. We need to leave the mega data centers of today, zoom all the way backward through time, and land squarely in the early days of Silicon Valley.
Okay, let's dive into this. Chapter 1. The Crazy Idea.
Picture this. It's 1993. You walk into a typical, unassuming diner in Silicon Valley, and you see Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowsky, and Curtis Priem sitting around a table. And they're asking what, at the time, was an absolutely absurd question. What if computers could think visually? You have to remember, in 1993, the computing landscape was basically just simple spreadsheets and very basic text documents. The CPU, the central processing unit, handled pretty much everything. Building a separate, dedicated chip just for graphics, that seemed completely pointless to the rest of the world. But these three engineers saw movies starting to use early computer animation, and they just knew a revolution was coming.
But honestly, that belief almost cost them everything. NVIDIA's first office wasn't some glamorous tech hub. Cash was running dangerously low, their very first products were seriously struggling against fierce competition from much richer companies, and they were staring straight down the barrel of bankruptcy. But instead of throwing in the towel, they made their first massive, visionary bet. They realized that video games were getting way more demanding, right? Gamers wanted faster frame rates and smooth gameplay that traditional CPUs just could not handle. So instead of trying to build chips for every possible customer out there, NVIDIA pivoted. They made a life-or-death gamble to focus entirely on the relentless, demanding needs of PC gamers. Which brings us to Chapter 2, Inventing the GPU. So that bold gamble on gaming, it totally paid off, leading us right to 1999, the year NVIDIA permanently altered the trajectory of computing forever. See, up until this point, CPUs handled tasks sequentially, just one by one by one. But NVIDIA introduced a revolutionary new piece of hardware, the Graphics Processing Unit, or GPU. Basically, this was a highly specialized chip designed to accelerate the creation of images by solving thousands of tasks all at the exact same time.
Okay, to put this into perspective, think of a traditional CPU like a single, highly skilled construction worker trying to build an entire house completely alone. They have to do the plumbing, then they do the electrical, then the framing, all sequentially. It takes forever, right? A GPU, on the other hand, is like having hundreds of workers building different parts of that house at the exact same time. The house goes up infinitely faster. By processing information in parallel, the GPU didn't just make video games look dramatically better. It actually laid the foundation for technologies no one had even imagined yet.
All right, Chapter 3, The Secret Weapon.
As gaming completely exploded into the early 2000s and GeForce graphics cards were literally flying off the shelves, Jensen Huang was already playing 3D chess. He was looking 10 steps ahead of everyone else. He asked another pivotal question. If a GPU can perform thousands of calculations simultaneously, well, why not use it for science, or medicine, or weather prediction? Most people out there thought GPUs were just fun little toys for gamers. But NVIDIA didn't listen to the skeptics. They quietly began transitioning into a foundational scientific powerhouse.
And that brings us to 2006, when NVIDIA dropped an absolute masterstroke. They introduced CUDA. This software rollout was a real game changer because it finally allowed programmers to unlock GPUs for massive, non-graphics calculations. Suddenly, researchers were out there solving incredibly complex scientific problems in hours instead of days. Universities eagerly started adopting NVIDIA hardware for cutting-edge research, and massive supercomputers began integrating GPUs into their systems. Without anyone really noticing, NVIDIA had invisibly created an entirely new market for high-performance scientific computing.
Moving right along to Chapter 4, The AI Revolution. So all of this incredibly careful preparation hits an absolute climax in 2012. The world of artificial intelligence had kind of been stuck in a rut for years because traditional CPUs just couldn't handle the trillions of calculations required to train neural networks. But then, researchers had a massive breakthrough. They realized that the parallel processing power of NVIDIA's GPUs was the absolute perfect tool for the job. Now, even though AI was still viewed by most of the world as overhyped science fiction, NVIDIA made a staggeringly audacious decision. They literally bet the entire company on AI. They spent billions of dollars to optimize their hardware and software for a future that basically no one else believed in yet.
And you know what? The impossible actually happened. Artificial intelligence completely exploded. Suddenly, the entire world needed immense GPU-driven computing power. This unleashed a massive wave of innovation. We're talking self-driving cars navigating complex environments, medical research accelerating at record rates, advanced robotics, the voice assistants on your phone, and of course, the massive large language models that power the AI chatbots we all use every single day. Every single one of these revolutionary systems requires immense computing power, and the vast majority of them run directly on NVIDIA.
Which leads us to Chapter 5, the trillion-dollar future. Literally almost overnight, the biggest tech giants on Earth woke up and realized they were in an all-out AI arms race. To compete, they frantically scrambled to build enormous AI data centers, packed with tens of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs. Which brings us to this staggering number, $1 trillion. Just let that sink in for a second. Between 2020 and 2025, NVIDIA experienced meteoric rise, completely smashing through the trillion-dollar valuation ceiling. The scrappy little startup that almost went bankrupt making graphics chips had become the undisputed backbone of the global AI revolution.
Now you might be wondering, how do they actually stay on top, right? Well, their true moat isn't just a physical microchip. They've built this incredibly interconnected ecosystem. You've got their industry-leading hardware, their proprietary CUDA software, specialized networking hardware, and deeply integrated AI libraries. When developers build an AI system today, they buy into this entire web, the whole shebang, and that makes it almost impossibly difficult for rival chip makers to ever catch up.
When you step back and look at this amazing, unbroken timeline, something incredibly profound jumps out at you. NVIDIA didn't just get lucky. They didn't just stumble into the AI boom by accident. They engineered its foundation over decades. From their founding back in 1993 to inventing the GPU in '99, releasing CUDA in 2006, way before it was even profitable, converging with AI in 2012, dominating the data center boom in 2020, and finally arriving at the trillion-dollar era today. It's just a continuous, relentless story of taking massive, visionary gambles and executing them flawlessly.
And I think that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. Most companies out there simply react to the future as it arrives. But as we've just seen, NVIDIA spent decades preparing for it. When the AI revolution finally hit, they weren't scrambling to catch up. No, they were already holding the exact tools the world desperately needed. The companies that change the world aren't always the biggest when they start out. They're the ones that prepare for a future others can't yet see. So as you look at the AI shaping our world today, it really makes you wonder, what invisible foundation is being built right now for the revolutions of tomorrow?